The desert sun blazed overhead as Lieutenant Kim Hanna gripped the steering wheel of their armored transport vehicle. Dust clouds swirled behind them as they approached the lonely gas station sitting like a forgotten outpost in the middle of nowhere. The three women had been driving for 6 hours straight after completing their top-secret training mission at Area 51's sister facility. The place so classified it didn't even have a name. Finally, muttered Sergeant Park Minna from the passenger seat, stretching her arms. Her muscles ached from the intense combat simulations they'd endured for the past week. The experimental enhancement procedures were still making her body feel strange, stronger somehow, but she kept that to herself. Corporally Sola looked up from her tablet in the back seat, where she'd been monitoring encrypted communications from their base. "We've got about 3 hours before our next check-in," she said, adjusting the seemingly ordinary gear strapped to her vest. Nobody would guess the innocent-looking devices contained technology that could level a city. The gas station looked like something from an old Western movie. Faded paint peeled from its walls, and the single pump looked ancient. But it was the only fuel stop for 100 miles in any direction. And their vehicle's energy cells needed recharging as they pulled up to the pump. Hannah noticed the complete silence. No other vehicles. No signs of life except for the elderly attendant visible through the grimy windows. Perfect. They could refuel quickly and get back on the road without any complications. That peaceful moment shattered when the rumble of motorcycle engines echoed across the desert. The sound grew louder, angrier, like a pack of metal beasts approaching their territory. Hannah's enhanced hearing, courtesy of her neural implants, picked up the distinct signatures of 12 different bikes long before they appeared on the horizon. "Company," she announced quietly, her hand instinctively moving toward her sidearm. The bikes roared into the lot like a tornado of chrome and leather. Their riders were exactly what you'd expect from a desert biker gang. All scraggly beards, tattoos, and attitude. But these weren't your typical weekend warriors playing dress-up. These men had the hard eyes of people who'd seen real violence and enjoyed it. Their leader dismounted first, a massive man whose arms were covered in Confederate flags and worse symbols. His vest displayed patches that made Mina's jaw clench with recognition. This wasn't just some random encounter. These were the kind of people who actively hunted for victims. Well. The leader drawled, his voice carrying the lazy menace of someone who'd never faced real consequences. "Look what we got here. Boys, 3 little soldiers, all alone in the big bad desert." His gang spread out in a practiced formation, blocking the exits. They'd done this before, the way they moved. The casual confidence in their postures, everything, screamed predator. But they'd picked the wrong prey this time. Hannah stepped out of the vehicle first, her movements fluid despite the exhaustion. Years of training had taught her to never show weakness, especially not to people like this. Mina and Sola flanked her, their positioning looking casual but actually creating optimal defensive angles, just getting some. "Fuel," Hannah said calmly, her voice carrying the authority of someone used to command. "We'll be on our way in a few minutes." The leader laughed. "It sounds like grinding metal." "Oh, I don't think so, sweetheart, you see. We own this stretch of road, and we don't much care for your type passing through our territory." The insults that followed made Sola's hands curl into fists. She'd heard worse during her time in the service. But it never got easier. The casual hatred, the assumption that they were helpless just because of how they looked. It all brought back memories of why she'd joined the military in the first place. "We United States soldiers," Minna said, her voice steady but with an edge that hinted at the power coursing through her enhanced muscles. "I suggest you step aside." "Soldiers," another biker spat in the dust. "You mean Uncle Sam's little diversity project. We know all about you people. taking jobs from real Americans. Pretending to be something you're not, the circle tightened. 12 men, all armed, all radiating the kind of casual malice that came from years of getting away with intimidation and worse. They thought they had 3 scared women cornered. They had no idea they were facing humanity's most advanced warriors, hidden in the rocks above the gas station. Sensors that looked like ordinary desert stones recorded everything. The alien scout ship monitoring Earth's military capabilities had positioned these devices months ago, trying to understand human combat potential. Today, they were about to get a demonstration they'd never forget. The wind picked up, swirling dust around the confrontation in the distance. Something that looked like a shooting star streaked across the sky, but it was moving too slowly. Too deliberately. The invasion fleet was getting closer, and this little gas station was about to become the stage for humanity's most important audition. The biker leader took another step forward, his boots crunching on the gravel. "You girls lost," he sneered, close enough now that Hannah could smell the stale beer and motor oil on his clothes. "This ain't your neighborhood, and we don't take kindly to your kind passing through." What these desert predators couldn't possibly know was that they were facing 3 of humanity's most classified military assets. The women standing before them weren't just soldiers. They were living weapons, each one representing billions of dollars in research and development that most governments could only dream about. Lieutenant Kim Hannah looked perfectly ordinary on the outside, but beneath her skull lay a network of microscopic neural processors that connected directly to her brain. The implants had been developed in secret laboratories deep beneath the Nevada desert, designed to give human soldiers the reflexes and processing power needed to fight the advanced alien species that Earth's military leaders knew were coming. Right now, those implants were quietly analyzing the biker's body language, mapping escape routes, and calculating the exact force needed to neutralize each threat. Sergeant Park Minna appeared tired from their long drive, but her exhaustion was hiding something incredible. 6 months ago, she'd volunteered for the Genesis program, a top-secret genetic enhancement project that pushed human physical capabilities beyond natural limits. Her DNA had been carefully written, her muscle fibers redesigned, her nervous system upgraded. She could now move faster than Olympic sprinters, hit harder than professional boxers, and react quicker than any baseline human. But the most important part of her enhancement was mental. She could process combat situations with computer-like precision. Corporal Isola stood quietly beside her teammates, her gear looking like standard military equipment to the untrained. But hidden within her vest were prototype devices that could bend the laws of physics, energy shields that could stop bullets, sonic disruptors that could incapacitate multiple targets, and communication systems that could reach satellites in orbit instantly. She was a walking arsenal of humanity's most advanced technology, designed to give soldiers advantages that alien invaders wouldn't expect. "Maybe we should teach these girls some manners," one of the bikers suggested, pulling a heavy chain from his bike. The others laughed and started reaching for their own weapons. Knives appeared from boot sheaths, brass knuckles slipped over scarred fingers, and metal pipes were lifted from motorcycle saddlebags. The 3 soldiers remained perfectly still, their training taking over. They'd faced simulated combat scenarios against holographic aliens with plasma weapons and energy shields. They'd fought robot armies in virtual battlefields and gone head-to-head with artificial intelligence programs designed to test human limits. A dozen racist bikers with primitive weapons were nothing compared to the galactic threats they'd been preparing for. High above the desert, invisible to human eyes, an alien scout ship continued its surveillance mission. The gray-skinned creatures inside had been monitoring Earth for months, cataloging human military capabilities before their invasion fleet arrived. They'd seen human soldiers in action before, but always in organized military settings. This random encounter at a desert gas station was giving them their first look at how human warriors behaved when caught off guard and outnumbered. "Look at them," one alien observer noted, studying the readouts from their advanced sensors. "Their heart rates are barely elevated. Either they're too primitive to understand the danger, or they're not worried about 12 armed opponents." His companion finished, adjusting the scanning equipment to get better readings on the three women. Back on the ground, the biker leader was getting impatient. "You therefore just stupid. I asked you a question." He reached out to grab Hannah's shoulder, expecting her to flinch or step back like most people did when confronted by his gang instead. Hannah turned her head slightly, and for just a moment, her eyes seemed to glow with an inner light as her neural implants activated. The bikers were too ignorant to recognize what they were seeing. But those tiny processors were now running combat algorithms that could outthink military. "Supercomputers, we heard you," Hannah said calmly, her voice carrying a new edge. "We're just deciding whether you're worth the paperwork." Mina shifted her weight almost imperceptibly, but her enhanced senses were now operating at full capacity. She could hear the heartbeats of every man round them, smell the adrenaline starting to spike in their systems, feel the micro-vibrations in the ground from their shifting feet. Her genetic modifications were painting a perfect three-dimensional picture of the battlefield, showing her exactly where each opponent would move before they even knew it themselves. "Big mistake," she whispered, her enhanced reflexes already calculating attack patterns, trajectory angles, and the precise amount of force needed to end this confrontation in seconds. Sola's hand moved casually to her belt, fingers finding her activation switches for her prototype gear. Energy began building in capacitors smaller than coins, preparing to unleash forces that could shatter concrete or create walls of solid light. The technology she carried was so advanced that most Earth scientists wouldn't understand it for another century. Above them all, the alien scouts leaned forward in their monitoring stations, suddenly very interested in what they were seeing. The readings coming from these three humans were unlike anything in their databases. Something was very wrong with their intelligence reports about Earth's military capabilities. The desert wind picked up again, and in that moment of swirling dust and rising tension, the fate of two worlds hung in the balance. The tension snapped like a rubber band when the biggest biker made his move. "Enough talking," he snarled, pulling a wicked-looking knife from his belt. "Time to teach you ladies some respect." He lunged straight at Sola, the blade aimed at her chest, expecting to see fear in her eyes. Instead, what happened next defied everything the bikers thought they knew about physics. Sola moved like she was dancing through water while everyone else was stuck in thick honey. Her hand shot out faster than a striking snake, fingers wrapping round the biker's wrist with surgical precision. There was a sharp crack as she twisted, and suddenly the knife was spinning through the air while its owner was face down in the gravel. His arm bent at an angle that made his buddies wince. "What the hell?" One of them gasped, but his shock was nothing compared to what happened next. Hannah's eyes flashed with that strange inner light again as her neural implants kicked into overdrive. Invisible waves of electromagnetic energy pulsed out from her position like ripples in a pond. Every cell phone in the area died instantly, their screens going black as circuits fried. The bikers' motorcycles, which had been rumbling with mechanical pride just seconds before, coughed and fell silent as their electronic systems crashed. "My bike," one of the men shouted, frantically trying to restart his ride. "What did you do to my bike?" But they didn't have time to worry about their motorcycles because Minna was already in motion. Three bikers rushed her at once, thinking they could overwhelm her with numbers. They might as well have tried to tackle a freight train. Mina's genetically enhanced muscles exploded into action. Her body moving with the fluid grace of a professional dancer combined with the devastating power of a wrecking ball. She caught the first attacker's swing with her left hand, stopping his chin mid-strike like it had hit a concrete wall. Her right fist shot forward in a blur, connecting with his solar plexus. The man folded like origami and dropped to the ground. Gasping for air, the second biker tried to grab her from behind. But Mina spun round so fast she seemed to teleport. Her elbow found his ribs with the precision of a guided missile, and he crumpled beside his friend. The third man hesitated for just a moment, suddenly realizing this wasn't going according to plan. That hesitation cost him everything. Mina's enhanced reflexes allowed her to read his body language like a book written in large print. She knew exactly where he would step, how he would swing, what he would try to do before he even started moving. Her palm strike caught him square in the chest, lifting him off his feet and sending him flying backward into the side of the gas station building. He hit with a thud that shook dust from the old structure and slid down the wall like a cartoon character. High above the chaos, the alien monitoring station erupted in confused chatter. "This is impossible," the lead scout transmitted to his. "Shep, our intelligence reports said humans were primitive warriors with basic technology. Are you certain these are standard human soldiers?" His commander responded, the voice crackling through space across impossible distances. "Scanning now." The scout replied, his instruments working frantically to analyze what they were seeing. "Wait." And detecting massive energy signatures from the small female. Some kind of electromagnetic manipulation beyond our understanding. Meanwhile, the remaining bikers were starting to panic. Half their gang was already down. Their phones were dead. Their bikes wouldn't start. And these three women looked like they'd barely broken a sweat. "This ain't natural," one of them whispered, backing away slowly. "Nobody moves that fast. Nobody's that strong." But running wasn't an option anymore. Solar had activated her prototype gear, and reality itself seemed to bend round her. A shimmering barrier of energy appeared between the bikers and their disabled motorcycles, cutting off their escape route. The shield looked like heat waves rising from hot asphalt. But when one desperate man tried to push through it, he bounced back like he'd hit a wall made of diamonds. "What are you people?" The biker leader demanded, clutching his broken wrist. His earlier confidence had evaporated like water in the desert sun. "We're the reason Earth sleeps peacefully at night," Hannah replied, her neural implants still crackling with barely contained energy. Round her, the Earth itself seemed to hum with power. The old gas station security cameras captured everything, their mechanical eyes recording footage that would later be classified at levels so secret that most government officials would never know it existed. But those weren't the only cameras watching. For above the Earth's atmosphere, an alien battle cruiser the size of a small city received the scout's urgent transmission. In the ship's command center, beings from 12 different worlds studied the footage with growing alarm. "Cancel the invasion," the fleet commander ordered, his multiple eyes fixed on the display showing 3 human females dismantling an entire gang with casual efficiency. "If these are their basic soldiers, we need to reconsider our entire strategy, sir." The advanced scouts reported that humans were weak, divided, easy to conquer. His tactical officer protested. The advanced scouts were wrong. The commander replied grimly, "Send word to the Galactic Council. Earth is not the primitive world we thought it was. These humans, they're something else entirely." Back at the gas station, the confrontation was over almost before it had begun. 12 hardened criminals lay groaning in the dust, completely neutralized by 3 women who looked like they could have been heading to a coffee shop instead of finishing the most lopsided fight in D. Essert history. The silence that followed was broken only by the wind whistling through the broken dreams of men who'd picked the wrong victims on the wrong day in the wrong universe. The desert air still hummed with residual energy from Solar's prototype devices as the distant wail of police sirens grew louder. 12 grown men lay scattered across the gas station lot like broken toys, zip-tied with military-grade restraints that Minna had produced from her gear pack. Some groaned softly. Others stared at the sky in shock. All of them trying to process what had just happened to their gang. Local law enforcement. 2 minutes out, Hannah announced calmly, her neural implants still connected to police radio frequencies. The electromagnetic pulse she'd released had been carefully controlled to avoid damaging emergency services equipment. After all, they were still the good guys. Solar powered down her energy shields. The shimmering barriers fading like morning mist, she pulled out a small device that looked like an ordinary phone. It was actually a quantum communicator capable of reaching their commanding officer instantly. No matter where he was in the solar system. Control. This is Raven Team. She spoke into the device. Minor civilian incident resolved. Requesting cleanup protocols. Copy that. Raven Team. Came the encrypted response. Sanitization crew en route. Standard cover story approved. The old gas station attendant had wisely remained inside during the entire confrontation, pretending to organize inventory while actually recording everything on his phone. He'd seen enough action movies to know that mysterious government agents would probably want his footage deleted. But this was the most exciting thing that had happened in his 20 years of working the desert. Shift. 3 black SUVs roared into the lot just as the first police car arrived. The sheriff's deputy who stepped out was a weathered man named Rodriguez who'd been patrolling this stretch of highway for 15 years. He'd seen plenty of biker gang troubles before, but never anything like this. Evening, officers, Hannah said professionally, producing her military identification. The ID looked standard issue, but it contained quantum encryption that would verify her credentials through channels so classified that even the sheriff's computer system would only display a simple message. Authorized military personnel. Full cooperation required, Mom. Deputy Rodriguez nodded, studying the scene. 12 bikers, all secured. None seriously injured despite the obvious struggle. Want to tell me what happened here? Routine harassment situation that escalated. Minna replied smoothly. Suspects became physically aggressive. We defended ourselves, using minimum necessary force. The deputy looked at the unconscious gang members, then back at the 3 women who didn't have a scratch on them. Minimum necessary force. He repeated slowly. Yes, sir. Solar confirmed. We're trained in non-lethal suppression techniques. What none of them knew was that this conversation was being monitored by listeners far more interested than local law enforcement, 3 miles away. Hidden in a desert cave that had been artificially enlarged, alien technology hummed quietly in the darkness. The monitoring station looked like a cross between a high-tech laboratory and something from a nightmare. Crystalline displays showed energy readings that made no sense according to known physics, while biomechanical interfaces pulsed with information being transmitted across interstellar distances. Fleet Command. This is Desert Station 7. The lead observer spoke into a device that translated his thoughts directly into quantum transmissions. Priority Alpha Intelligence Update. Across the void of space, aboard a massive command ship, hidden behind Jupiter's largest moon, the Galactic Invasion Council received the urgent message. The war room fell silent as beings from dozens of different worlds studied the combat footage. These cannot be standard human soldiers, insisted Commander Vexthal, his 6 arms gesturing at the holographic display. Our intelligence indicated that humans require vehicles and heavy weapons to pose any threat. "The data doesn't lie," replied Intelligence Officer Zarwin, her insectoid features clicking with concern. "These 3 individuals neutralized 12. Armed opponents using abilities we cannot explain. The electromagnetic manipulation alone suggests technology centuries beyond what our scouts reported. Perhaps their genetic anomalies," suggested War Leader Krex, his scaled hide rippling with nervous energy. "Rare mutations that give them enhanced capabilities." "Negative," Zarwin responded. "Manipulating the holographic controls with practiced efficiency. Our biological scanners detected systematic modifications. These enhancements are artificial, which means they can be replicated. If Earth's military can produce soldiers like this in quantity," the implication hung in the air. Like a toxic cloud, the invasion force had been planning to overwhelm Earth with superior numbers and technology. But if humanity could field warriors with superhuman abilities, the entire campaign would need to be reconsidered. Back at the gas station, the cleanup crew was working with military precision. The bikers were being loaded into transport vehicles, while official reports were being filed through channels that would ensure the incident remained classified. The 3 soldiers stood beside their vehicle, ready to continue their journey home. "Think they learned their lesson?" Mina asked quietly, watching the last of the gang members being driven away. "Probably not," Hannah replied, her neural implants finally powering down completely. "But maybe the next group will think twice before picking on random strangers." Deputy Rodriguez walked over one final time, his expression thoughtful. "You ladies drive safe now," he said, "and thanks for keeping it clean. I've seen what biker gangs can do to people who can't defend themselves." "Just doing our job, sir," Sola replied with a smile as their vehicle pulled back onto the highway. None of the soldiers realized that their brief stop had just changed the course of galactic history. Miles above them, alien scout ships were quietly retreating to safe distances, their commanders suddenly very interested in learning more about Earth's true military capabilities. The invasion was still coming. But now the aliens knew they were facing an enemy far more dangerous than they'd ever imagined. The secure communication channels beneath Cheyenne Mountain hummed with encrypted data as the incident rep. Ord from the desert gas station made its way through the most classified networks on Earth. What looked like a simple assault case to local police was actually intelligence gold to the beings monitoring humanity from across the galaxy. General Patricia Kim sat in her deep underground office, reading the report with growing amazement. As the head of Earth's Galactic Defense Initiative, she understood the implications better than anyone. 3 of her best soldiers had just given the universe a demonstration of human capabilities that no amount of propaganda could have achieved. "Get me the Joint Chiefs," she ordered her aide, "and patch me through to Space Command. They need to see this footage immediately." Meanwhile, 40,000 miles above Earth's surface, the alien monitoring station that had been disguised as space debris for the past years suddenly burst into frantic activity. The crystalline beings inside worked at computer interfaces that existed in dimensions humans couldn't even perceive, analyzing every second of the gas station confrontation. "Command. This is Deep Space Monitor Station Alpha 7, the lead." Observer transmitted, his thoughts converted into quantum pulses that traveled faster than light itself. "Emergency priority transmission. Previous intelligence assessments of Earth military capabilities were catastrophically incorrect." The message rippled across 3 star systems within minutes, reaching alien civilizations that had been planning humanity's conquest for decades. On the war-world of Kepler to be, the Reptilian High Command received the transmission during their final invasion preparations. "Impossible," hissed Supreme War Leader Zeshkar, his yellow eyes fixed on the holographic display showing the 3 human soldiers. "Our scouts reported that humans were weak, Divided, barely capable of interplanetary travel, the evidence suggests otherwise, Supreme Leader. His intelligence chief replied carefully. These three individuals displayed capabilities that exceed our own elite warriors, and according to our analysis, they were not even trying to showcase their full potential across the galaxy. Similar conversations were taking place in alien command centers. The insectoid swarm queens of the Andromeda sector immediately recalled their advanced scouts. The machine intelligence of Proxima Centauri updated its threat assessment of humanity from negligible to extreme caution advised. But the most dramatic reaction came from the massive invasion fleet that had been gathering in the asteroid belt beyond Mars. 300 warships, each the size of a small city, had been preparing for humanity's final hour. Now, their commanders were having serious second thoughts. "Show me the footage again," demanded Fleet Admiral Crexithan, his forearms crossed in what his species considered a gesture of deep contemplation. The bridge of his flagship was filled with beings from a dozen different worlds, all united in their desire to claim Earth's resources for themselves. The holographic display showed the gas station confrontation for the 15th time. Each viewing made the aliens more nervous. They watched Hannah's electromagnetic abilities, Mina's impossible speed and strength, Solar's energy manipulation technology that seemed to bend physics itself. If these are their basic soldiers, the Admiral's tactical officer whispered, what must their elite forces be capable of? More importantly, added the invasion fleet's chief scientist, how many more like them does Earth possess? Our population estimates suggest billions of humans. If even a small percentage have these abilities, the implications were terrifying. The alien coalition had been planning to conquer Earth with overwhelming force, expecting to face primitive weapons and disorganized resistance instead. They were looking at a species that might be more advanced than they'd ever imagined. Signal. The fleet, Admiral Crexithan ordered grimly. All ships withdraw to the outer system. Maximum stealth protocols. We need to completely reassess this situation. 300 alien warships, each carrying enough firepower to level continents, began their silent retreat from Earth's vicinity. The invasion that had been scheduled for the following month was indefinitely postponed. Back on Earth, Lieutenant Kim Hanna was filling out paperwork in her quarters at the classified base. The gas station incident had already faded to just another entry in her mission log. She had no idea that her brief demonstration of human military enhancement had just saved 7 billion lives. Sergeant Park Minna was in the base gym, working through her daily training routine. Her genetically enhanced muscles needed constant exercise to maintain peak efficiency. As she lifted weights that would crush ordinary humans, she thought about the scared looks in those bikers' eyes. She hoped they'd learned their lesson about judging people by their appearance. Corporal Isola was in her lab, fine-tuning the prototype equipment that had performed flawlessly during the confrontation. The energy shields had held perfectly. The communications gear had worked without a glitch, and the non-lethal suppression systems had done exactly what they were designed to do. She made a few notes for the engineering team, then headed to the cafeteria for dinner. None of the three soldiers realized that their names were now being spoken in hushed tones across the galaxy. Alien intelligence services were scrambling to learn more about these mysterious human warriors. Defense contractors on 100 different worlds were trying to reverse engineer technology they'd only seen in brief combat footage. The Galactic Trade Federation immediately upgraded Earth's classification from primitive backwater to potentially dangerous civilization requiring diplomatic contact. Peace envoys were already being selected for humanity's first official contact with alien species, though that meeting was still years away. On the hidden moon base that served as headquarters for the galaxy's most powerful criminal, Organizations, the crime bosses who had been planning to strip mine Earth's resources, held an emergency meeting. The footage from the gas station had convinced them that humans were far too dangerous to antagonize. Find another planet. The syndicate leader ordered, one with fewer surprises. As the days passed, the ripple effects of that desert confrontation continued spreading across the galaxy. Trade routes were adjusted to avoid Earth's solar system. Military alliances were reformed to account for humanity's unexpected capabilities. Entire civilizations began preparing for the possibility that these strange bipedal creatures might one day venture beyond their home system. Kim Hanna, Parmina, and Lisola continued their regular duties, training for threats they couldn't imagine. Protecting a world that didn't know how close it had come to annihilation. Their weekend gas station stop had accidentally become humanity's greatest diplomatic victory. A demonstration of strength that spoke louder than any words. The universe had learned a valuable lesson that day. Never underestimate the humans. The end.